Will we get out? It's a confident yes.
Alright, Kim's feeling a bit under the weather today, a bit of a migraine I think, so she's asleep. I did deflate the tyres last night, and I do have an air compressor to inflate them again, but it's underneath all of this shit. It's underneath that plywood, and the bed sits on top of that, so I think now's the time to empty the car, and I'll get that air compressor out of there. Once I do that, maybe I'll show you just exactly what we've brought along with us, and maybe a few of the things I've done to the car and just how the bed works and stuff like that. Alright, the car's pretty much empty. I am trying to still get to this air compressor, but now that it's empty, it's kind of a good way to show how all this works. Got a fridge slide, it all works, but it just means there's less room to sleep in. So that just slides out, it's pretty wicked. We've got this platform on top, which yes, we can sleep on. Now this bed frame I've made myself, and it's extendable, so we can fold the front seats forward, extend the frame out, slap a bit of wood down, and then it's a full length bed, something that I can fit in. Alright, so there's a locking pin here. This is the extra piece of wood. So we'll extend it out, put that locking pin back in, and these bits of wood here just lock in to the metal frame, kind of keep the piece of wood where we want it. And that's it, we'll just throw the mattress on top of this, and we're good to go. We can fold the seats back, and the pillows just rest up against the seat, and they don't fall down into the pit of doom. Alright, that esky is not an esky, it's actually got a battery in it. Now that battery is what powers the fridge while the car is off, and then we've also got an inverter which will charge our camera batteries and things like that at our laptops. So this blue thing underneath the timber up here, that's the inverter, that just turns the car power into, you know, regular household power. So these are the Anderson plugs, this connects to the main battery in the car. And there's a couple of things in here, just like a battery monitor. Because this is a modern car and it's got a smart alternator, DC to DC charger just makes sure the battery in here is getting charged properly regardless of what's happening in the engine bay. I won't go into that, that's pretty complex. And then I've got all these kinds of leads. This runs to the solar blanket that I have and plugs into here. And there's a couple of USB ports and things like that, and a socket to plug the fridge into. Alright, things are obviously a bit messy, but we've got a utility tub over there. It's just got some tools in it, but more like fire lighters and air compressors and tyre repair kit, things like that. Those are just loose items. We've already got a tub in there. That's just like jackets and stuff, like really not important things, gifts that we buy along the way, because that's the hardest tub to get to. And we got two tubs that go here. That's a food tub and a kind of cutlery and bowls tub. We've got a tub here just for dishes and things like that. That's my toolbox that lives behind the driver's seat. Now the utility tub goes here, and then we've got another tub the same size full of pots and pans, and those go in this area on both sides. So that's how that all sits in, those two black boxes. We've got 4 of them, 2 on each side. That's where they always go. That's got my clothes and camera gear on this side, and then on the other side is Kim's clothes. You get the idea. Now in these kind of wing sections in the boot, we just put loose items, kind of like boots and a dish rack and fly nets and things like that. They live in there. There's plenty of little holes. There's a hole down in here between my tubs and the fridge. We fill that up with whatever, shoes and hats. And then basically what's left is the tent, the mattress, the pillows, the table and the water jugs. Now the table and one of the water jugs goes on the roof, And then once I put that final timber panel in, that's where the mattress, the tent and the pillows, the other water jug goes, toiletries and anything else. Alright, just a few things I thought I might share with you. You might not know about them, but it makes camping a little easier, or it's a bit more accessible. There's a lot of collapsible things these days. So here I've got this collapsible kettle. Normally that has a lid on it, but I learnt the hard way, you should probably only use these on a little gas stove. Don't put them on a bare fire. I had it on like a bit of a stand, but the fire just caught plastic handle in the lid and melted it, so don't do what I did. But that's a good little thing. I got this little collapsible dish bucket, bit of a luxury, but I got it for free, so why not? Another thing that I quite like is just this hose. It just goes on the end of the water tank. It just means I'm not spilling water inside the car when the water jug lives here. Or if I put one on the roof, it kind of makes it a bit easier to get the water where I want it. And I got some new chairs. The one I'm sitting in packs up into a bag this size, whereas normally, you know, they're heaps longer and a bit harder to store. A few things like that kind of make it easier for us to get away in a car this size, which is just much smaller. But yeah, I mean, it saves us having to buy a massive car or another one or whatever. We could take this fuel efficient little thing that's got all-wheel drive. It'll drive us on the sand and get us out of trouble, sorta. Just one other thing I forgot to mention quickly as well is you're always gonna, if you're camping, you're pretty much gonna have to take your rubbish out with you no matter what. So first of all, don't bring much rubbish in if you can avoid it. And if you're gonna be drinking like soft drink or beer or whatever, bring cans. You can crush a can, and then that way if you're packed to the rafters like me, and you don't have a whole lot of room for rubbish, at least you got cans and things, you can kind of crush it down a bit and then throw it out at a service station or somewhere that you're allowed to throw it out, or hold on to it till you get to a caravan park and throw it out there. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Alright, I'm just going to run around the car real quickly and show off a few things I've got. Now if we are sleeping in the car, there's a few things that might come in handy, or if we're in a particularly bug infested place, we've got these kind of fly nets. So we've got one that drapes over the tailgate. If we're getting hammered with flies, we can kind of prepare dinner in there. Now on the back windows, I've got these fly nets. They kind of sleeve over the door. So if we're sleeping in here, we can wind the windows down, get a bit of breeze, but keep the bugs out. They do help with shade as well. Now for the front windows, if we're not sleeping in here, I've just got this core flute which I've cut out to the shape of the window, and that sits in here, blocks out the sun if we need it to. Otherwise I've got these fly nets here, which just kind of, they've got magnets in them, so you can stick it to the metal frame of the car. You know, obviously do it properly, but the magnets do work. So they're for the front. Now we've got one of those sun reflectors, and this is a solar blanket that folds up. Got an awning, roof rack. I'm sure you know what those do. We've got some rain guards which we put on. So if it's raining, we could still wind the windows down a whisker, get some fresh air in if it's a bit humid. We did put darker tint on the windows anyway, which has helped a lot. And on those windows and on the back. The suspension is the factory suspension, but I put some steel wheels on it with some all-terrains. Just all-terrains help on the sand and off-road, and the steel wheels were just cheap and smaller. So I got a smaller rim and a bigger tyre, just for more comfort, more off-road capability, and I don't care if the steel ones get damaged, and they're not likely to crack, they're more likely to bend, which means I can, if I'm in a bind, I can just hammer them and bend them back into shape roughly, compared with a different type, it would just crack and leak air, which is not what you want. Now you've seen the fridge slide, but I've got some lights in here as well, and a light at the front. And that just about covers it. I do have some Max Tracks. I was given 2 for Christmas a while back. In hindsight, after getting stuck last night, I should have bought 2 more. I think 4 is good to have. Also in hindsight, I probably should have gotten a lift kit for this, just a 2-inch lift. Because ground clearance sucks on this thing, especially when it's this full. That's all there really is to show for this walk around. Now, Kim and I did invest a bit of money in just more compact, collapsible camping gear. I got other camping gear at home. I've got a Hilux at home, and normally I just don't really care. There's so much room in that car, just fill it up with shit anyway, and then throw a massive swag on the roof racks and call it a day. But for this, we've got like a foldable mattress. We've got a really awesome collapsible pop-up tent. So that thing works really well. I'm pretty surprised. I thought it was a bit of a gimmick, but after the first time we packed it up and worked it out, it's awesome. So sleeping on this bed is kind of a last resort if we get stuck in a bind, or you know, it's late at night, we're trying to get somewhere and we just want to go to bed, we can. But for everything else, we've got that tent, which is nice and breezy, a bit more comfortable, a bit more headroom, and yeah, that's it. So hopefully we can get stuck into some beach driving and don't get bogged on the way in or the way out.